Hello everyone, it's Stephanie, your CSA coach, and I am back this week with our live unboxing. It is week 12B of our CSA shares. We have a lot of goodies this week in our shares. Two quick announcements before I go over what we received, how to use it, and how to store it. One, Sunday, August 14th from 6 to 8 p.m., the farm is having a sunset snip. So anyone from the public can go to the farm. It's $20 and you can go into the flower fields and pick a bouquet of flowers for 20 bucks. So please share that with your friends and family or anyone not involved with the CSA. I know we get flower bouquets every week with our shares, but it's a way for the public to enjoy the flowers as well. So that's Sunday, August 14th. The second announcement is we have bulk plum tomatoes for sale. You can get them this week during pickup. There's bags, so 5-pound bags are $12 each, and there's also boxes they're 25-pound boxes for $35 each. This week we have a limited quantity of boxes available, but you don't have to pre-order. You can just tell whoever is at the table during your pickup that you would like to purchase them. Next week, they will also be available. The bags will be available. You don't need to pre-order, but if you're interested in ordering a box, the 25-pound box, you will have to pre-order them for next week. Obviously great for canning, great for freezing sauces and things like that. So just know that that's available for an additional amount. Okay, so we're gonna jump right into what we received in our shares this week. 2 pick your owns along with the pick your own herbs and the bouquet of flowers. So we had pick your own cherry tomatoes, a quart of cherry tomatoes. Our tomatoes are best left on the counter. I like to serve these just as a snack. I'm pretty sure the recipe this week definitely involves them, and I'm also thinking ahead to next week's recipe. We'll also probably incorporate them as well. So we have a lot of tomatoes, so I'm trying to find different ways to use them, different recipes. But obviously tomatoes are great raw. You can roast them. You can put them on skewers and grill them. Again, I like serving them raw just like this as a snack or as like with a veggie dip or something like that. But best stored on the counter. So those are our cherry tomatoes. Our other pick are ground cherries. So ground cherries have husks on them, kind of like a tomatillo. And then when we open them up, the little ground cherry is on the inside. When you pick these, you don't want to pick them off the actual plant. They're ripe. So I didn't pick any that were obviously not ripe, but when they're ripe, they're a tan color on the outside. That's how we know that they're good on the inside, and they tend to fall to the ground. So all you need to do is swoop the plant up, kind of lift the plant up a little bit and look underneath, and that's where you're gonna find the best ground cherries. These can get stored on the counter or they can get stored in the fridge. We'll probably see a couple weeks of these as they are the perfect pick your own. We'll see a couple weeks of them. There are a bunch of recipes on the blog. They are great raw. You can just eat them as a snack. You can cook them. I know there's a ground cherry puff pastry. There's chocolate covered ground cherries on the blog. I want to say there's a jam, maybe a salad dressing as well. All things that I created over the past few years with ground cherries. But they're a really fun piece of produce to work with. It's best to store them with the husks on. When you're ready to use them, take the husks off and wash them. If you're making the chocolate covered ones, I actually leave the husks on because they're like a pretty fun thing to leave on, and use the husk to dip in the chocolate. But really good for baked goods, really good in like pies. I know there's a bunch of recipes over the years that have been posted on the Facebook group also. But best stored either on the counter or in the fridge, whatever you want, with the husks on. You can also freeze these. So I actually found frozen ground cherries from last year. All I do is wash them, take the husks off, and then measure them. So I put my bag, like I have them labeled ground cherries, and I have a cup of ground cherries in here. They're really good for anything baked. Obviously, I'm not gonna serve them raw once they're frozen because they'll get a little bit mushy. But I had a lot over last year that I didn't use, so I saved them and froze them. So definitely freezable. You can also dehydrate them. And when you dehydrate them, they become kind of like a raisin. So they're dehydrated and kind of like a candy. So that's an option as well. Those are ground cherries. We got 2 melons this week. We have watermelon. Your watermelon can either be red on the inside or orange on the inside. Best stored in the fridge, cold, and served sliced. We tend to serve them raw. I'm gonna do a big fruit platter tonight with all the melons before dinner for the kids. So stored in the fridge. Once you slice it, if you slice it and don't use the whole thing, we'll obviously use the whole thing tonight, but if you don't use the whole thing, then put saran wrap over top of it to preserve it and keep it in the fridge. We also received a cantaloupe. Shares will either contain a cantaloupe, which looks like this and is orange on the inside, a honeydew, which is a smoother outside with a green inside, or a galia melon, which looks like more like this on the outside and is green on the inside. But obviously all 3 different melons, same as the watermelon, we store them in the fridge. Once sliced, put saran wrap over top of them. You can serve them cold, you can serve them room temperature, but really good. I like serving these just as a side, as kind of like a dessert, or really good with breakfast, like with parfaits or with cottage cheese. So those are options as well. We have sweet onions. These are cured, so they get stored in a cool, dry, dark place away from potatoes. Sweet onions are great grilled, they're great roasted, they're great in stir fries, they're great in sauces. So we have tons of tomatoes, so you can make a tomato sauce. Cool, dry, dark place. Peppers. We have cubanelle peppers and we have green peppers, both stored in the fridge. I usually just throw them in my crisper drawer. Both good raw or in salads or roasted or in stir fries. Or you could do like, we have quite a few of them this week, so you could do like a sheet pan meal. Maybe like a chicken fajita with the sweet onions and the peppers, and slice up some chicken and do a nice sheet pan meal. We also got to choose 3 hot peppers. We have jalapenos, banana peppers, and long hots were the 3 options this week. Stored in the crisper drawer of your fridge or in a plastic bag. I love to use the hot peppers to spice up a dish. Love to use them in relishes or jams. There's a wonderful jalapeno honey, or hot pepper honey, I think is what I call it on the blog, that I use a lot. And this time of year I make a bunch of it because we have lots of hot peppers, and then it's preserved because it's honey. It's great in dressing. It's great in like lemonade, and make a spicy lemonade, margaritas, and all of that is on the blog. So if you're looking for ideas for your hot peppers, check there. We received more tomatoes. So we have heirlooms and reds stored on the counter. Our heirlooms are probably you want to use first. So we're gonna have them tonight with dinner. The reds will last a little bit longer. They're a little bit, they just last longer. So stored on the counter. If you slice them and don't use them all, then you want to put them in the fridge, but use within a day or 2 once they're sliced, and cover them in saran wrap or put them in a plastic bag so that they don't get yucky. Those are our tomatoes. Eggplant. Eggplant gets stored in the fridge. We want to wrap it in either a paper towel or a cloth towel so that it absorbs the moisture. We want to keep the moisture away from the eggplant so that it doesn't get mushy and go bad. Eggplant is great I prefer to use it, slice it, fry it, and use it for eggplant parm. That's my favorite thing to do, and then make a nice sauce with the tomatoes we got. Plus we have onions and we have basil, so that all works. You can also freeze it. So if you do like eggplant, fried eggplant, you can freeze those and use them later in the season. What else do I use? There's several things on the blog. I know there's like a grilled eggplant. You can slice it into rounds or slice it into long slices and put that on the grill as a side. So that's eggplant. Zucchini, we're going to continue to see a lot of zucchini or summer squash, three different varieties. These get stored in the crisper drawer of your fridge or in a plastic bag in the fridge. Can be served raw. You can slice and put on salad. You can serve with dips. We just posted a zucchini relish. You can turn them into noodles, which is what I'll be doing this week. I think that's gonna be part of a recipe coming up. So turn them into noodles. I know there's a noodle salad using these on the blog for recipes. You can cook the noodles, like do a quick flash of the noodles to cook them a little bit. Just be careful, don't overcook them because then they tend to get mushy. Or you can leave them raw. And in that salad that I'm talking about that's on the blog, the noodles are raw. What else do we do? Love grilling them. So love slicing them into long strips and throwing them on the grill as a side with a grilled protein. It's been so hot, so we don't like using the oven. If I'm cooking anything, it's gonna be on the grill for the next few days until the heat dies down a little bit. But stored in the fridge, in the crisper drawer, or in a plastic bag. Oh, you can also, if you still have zucchini or summer squash left over, you can freeze this. So I like to grate it and throw it in a Ziploc bag, measure out the amount. So I usually freeze it in a cup or 2 cup amounts. That way I can use it for baked goods. Also great for stir fries. So we have a lot of good vegetables that are good for stir fries. So you could throw a stir fry or like a fried rice together this week, and that would work well. We have Swiss chard. Swiss chard is such a fun leafy vegetable because of the beautiful colors we get. They're stored in, I have like a large Debbie Meyer green bag that I put it in, and then that's stored in the fridge, some sort of plastic in the fridge. Just like any other green, our kale, this gets sauteed. It can be eaten raw. Typically you saute it or you blanch it, do a quick blanch of it. If you're not gonna use it, then turn it into green cubes to use in smoothies. Great in soups also. So that's Swiss chard. And last but not least is our basil. Our basil is the one herb that gets stored on the counter. So I've already taken off the rubber band, put it in the glass of water, and this will go on the counter just like this. I like to take off the rubber band just so that I can grab pieces of basil and use it as needed, and it's not still together in that band, so it's easier to use. But this does not like to be cold, so we store it at room temperature. Basil is really good for salad dressings, good for caprese salads, good for like just a tomato basil salad, all kinds of green sauces. If you still have an abundance of basil, make a big batch of pesto or green sauce, freeze it, and then preserve that for later in the season when basil won't be available. Okay, I think that's it. Again, your focus is using everything you have left over from last week or the previous week first. And then probably, I guess out of this week's produce, we want to use the melons and the heirloom tomatoes first. Those are probably the first 2 that you want to focus on. Use those up, and then if you have questions and things that you're not sure about using, recipes that you've found that are really good, that work really well with the vegetables we received this week, please post them in the Facebook group. And if you have any questions, just tag me and I will help and guide throughout the week. I will see you again next Tuesday.